It's been another gray day. A lot of rain still on that radar. Here's what it's looking like right now. Just getting a little break before another little wave of some light showers. Not seeing any lightning firing up on that radar. So right now over Jefferson County, Valley Station, downtown Louisville is about to get some more rain in that forecast. And it's going to be off and on tomorrow as well. So the dry spell has not come just yet. Right now we're at 65 at the airport. Temperatures staying in the 60s. So when will it finally stop raining? I am tracking that low pressure system. I'll show you the latest timing and what your weekend looks like ahead. WHAS11 News at 5 starts right now.
This is one of those do you remember where you were when kind of moments. The JFK assassination, the 9/11 attacks, the shooting at Old National. It will stick with us forever, and it has made a mark on our life together.
Today, 1 year after the Old National Bank mass shooting, we were remembering that day. It certainly left its historic mark on our community. 5 people were killed, and now we try to honor their lives on this April 10th, as we have every day since the shooting.
Louisville has not forgotten the senseless act of violence. Right now, a memorial of 5 bouquets of flowers sits on the steps of the Preston Point building, the former location of the downtown bank branch. 1 year ago, that horrific act of violence shattered windows, changing lives inside of the first floor of the building, but outside quickly turned to a symbol of hope and community, first with a growing memorial, and then this sign, a painted blue, white, and yellow heart. Thanks for joining us on this day of remembrance. I'm Shay McAllister.
And I'm Doug Proffitt. Today, the stories of the victims and the first responders from that morning, which happened the day after Easter. The bank employees who died are Joshua Barrick, Dina Eckert, Tommy Elliott, Juliana Farmer, and Jim Tutt. Metro Louisville and surrounding areas today marking the significance in a variety of ways. WHAS 11's Connor Steffens in Seymour, Indiana, as Old National Bank branches remember their colleagues.
But first, we want to start with senior reporter Isaiah Kim Martinez. He was at that remembrance ceremony in downtown Louisville today. Isaiah, how did the city mark 1 year since the shooting?
Well, Shay, Doug, with truly a heartfelt ceremony, as you can imagine, the words really ringing true for so many folks, including the families of those who lost loved ones that day in attendance, survivors themselves also in attendance. And we're actually right now in front of the building you mentioned, the Preston Point building. We can actually get a different view here, showing the previous location for the Old National Bank, where you can actually, again, see those 5 flower arrangements right on the steps. Now, it was an emotional ceremony over at Metro Hall. It lasted just over an hour and a half, and we heard from Dr. Jason Smith. His team operated on some of the people wounded that day, and he had a powerful message.
In our wonderful prayer to start the service, we talked about kindling a fire in our hearts in remembrance. And it's important for us to do that because several people paid the price on that day to light that fire. And it's important for us every day to remember that and to honor that and to use that fire to the betterment of our community.
Here you were a year ago today.
We also saw Marianne Elliott, wife of the late Tommy Elliott. She was there, seen hugging countless people, including the mayor and Governor Andy Beshear, who, as we know, loved Tommy Elliott dearly. An interesting story. I actually spoke with survivor Dallas Schwartz. I've spoke with her over the last several months over text and Facebook message. She was at the ceremony, and she told me that she and other Old National Bank employees like Dana Mitchell, who Shay McAllister actually interviewed here in recent weeks, they actually went inside this building just yesterday. They walked around with police by their side. I asked them how they felt and why they did that. She told me, this is Dallas Schwartz speaking, that she wanted to get closure. They wanted to get closure, and it felt comforting to be able to be inside that building and close that chapter. Doug, Shay.
That takes remarkable strength. Thank you very much, Isaiah. And we're going to have more from that ceremony ahead. Also, the remembrance ceremony was held today at Metro Hall, and Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg is soon coming here now to WHAS 11 to talk with us live about his efforts to get gun regulations passed and how the city moved forward in the year since. That's tonight at 5:30. Ahead of the one-year mark, we sat down with those personally impacted by the mass shooting, victims in their own right.
That includes Jessica Barrick, the wife of Joshua Barrick, who was killed in the shooting. I talked to her about that day, the days after, and now how her family is moving forward without her husband and her children's father.
Kids they'll draw on pictures and they leave them on the table back there, and we go visit him. But we tell stories about him all the time. Remember when Dad did this? And he made me laugh here. The laughter was a big part of our life, so we're trying to get that back.
Jessica said they are moving forward, but they will never move on. Today, just another step in that journey.
Dana Mitchell, another victim who witnessed the violence firsthand. She worked at the bank as the gunman opened fire in the small conference room, killing the 5 co-workers, hurting 6 others as well before police arrived. She credits her survival by playing dead, even with a gunshot wound in her back, staying still, face into the floor, holding her breath until help got there. Now she's dealing with the grief and guilt left behind that day.
Why am I the one that gets to keep going and to enjoy life, and they're not granted that same opportunity? So,
can you share what you remember most about the coworkers you lost that day?
Juliana had only been with us a couple weeks, and so I really didn't know her very well. Josh was a big guy, and he was just, like football player type guy, just big. Jim was, he was very sweet, and Jim liked to make wine. Actually, I have a bottle down here that he gave me. Dina was a very bright person. I mean, just, she was, you couldn't help but like her personality. She was very outgoing, and yeah, that one was really, really tough. Tommy Elliott, I love Tommy. He was a very special person.
She says at the same time, it's never been so clear that life is an opportunity she feels lucky to have.
And this afternoon, the tributes continued across the region, with Old National Bank branches outside of Louisville closing early for a special walk. The company giving its 4,000 employees the opportunity to honor the lives lost on this day last year. Well, the locations in Louisville were closed completely today, allowing local employees an opportunity to grieve and spend quality time with their families and with each other.
WHAS11's Connor Steffen and photojournalist Addie Hill are in Seymour reporting on how the bank branches paid respect to their colleagues.
Look, it's a somber day in Louisville, just as it is here in Seymour, Indiana. We're outside the nearest Old National Bank location, about an hour away from Louisville. It was here around 2:15 that all the staff inside came outside to honor those who lost their lives that tragic day. And really, it was an amazing scene. We're going to show you right now. Take a look. All the managers and staff inside, like we said, gathered to honor the 5 lives of those we lost 1 year ago today. Again, Tommy Elliott, Joshua Barrick, Dina Eckert, Juliana Farmer, and Jim Tutt. Not only did they read bios for the 5, they also appeared to do 5 laps around the building, which you're seeing right now, in honor of the victims. We did speak with the branch manager. She told us that herself, her employees, were too uncomfortable with the day to speak with us, though they did say they want everyone in Louisville and everyone across the world to keep their coworkers in mind, those who lost their lives, those who are injured, those who were mentally hurt from the tragedy that happened 1 year ago today, April 10th, 2023. We're in Seymour, Indiana. Connor Steffen, WHAS11 on your side.
For U of L Health's Dr. Jason Smith, the impact of April 10th is forever etched in his mind. We heard the emotion a day after Smith's team performed emergency surgery on the victims of the Old National Bank mass shooting.
Everyone who helps make policy, both at state, city, federal, I would simply ask you to do something. Because doing nothing, which is what we've been doing, is not working.
The words that I say that day are just as true today as they were then. This is going on all over the place. Let's find a way to do something different. Let's find answers for these problems. That call to action hasn't changed.
Now, Smith tells us his team has been more active in meeting with legislators and partnering with local organizations like the Office for Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods to reduce gun violence.
New this week, family members of 3 shooting victims have filed a lawsuit against the store where the gunman bought the weapon and a gun accessory supplier and manufacturer. The lawsuit filed by the families of Tommy Elliott, Juliana Farmer, and Dina Eckert is the second filed in this shooting. It claims River City Firearms ignored red flags when the shooter bought the AR-15 that he used in that shooting. The lawsuit also accuses the manufacturers of failing to ensure the products they make aren't sold to people who pose a risk to themselves or others. Our calls to River City Firearms for a comment have gone unanswered. Despite the violence, our police officers jumped into action, trying to save the lives they could. And you've heard these names, Officer Nick Wilt and Officer Corey Galloway. They were the first 2 officers on scene, and it was just days after Officer Wilt started this job. The LMPD Chief of Police, Jackie Gwenville-Riel, reflected on what it was like to hear that one of her officers had been shot and critically injured.
That was the first officer underneath my command that was critically injured in that way. He was only 9 days. 9 days. And he was thrown into it.
Officer Wilt's recovery was one bit of hope that the community was able to cling to. His acts of heroism honored throughout the last year as his recovery now continues.